You're in the right place at the right time, stretching from the distant spaceports of Batu, Tatooine, and Naboo, all the way to the bright center of the galaxy at Imperial Center, slamming into your hollow projector like a supercharged nanoparticle of coaxium. This is the Star Wars Unfiltered podcast. I'm John, he's Jason, and we're here to bring you your needed dose of Star Wars film, TV, book, comic, gaming, and collecting news. The date is May 18th, 2022. And we got some fun, nostalgic topics today for the most part. I'm going to be giving a brief update about the Obi-Wan Kenobi official trailer that just came out recently and celebration memories from Denver 1999. Should be fun. How has your week been so far, Jason?
Great.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Well, it's been over a week since we recorded a podcast, so
That's true. Very true. It's been a good month and a half, I think.
Yeah, I've just been teaching my kid how to play Minecraft, and still trying to get around to seeing when she wants to watch Star Wars, but I'm not forcing it. So
yeah, no motivation on her part, huh?
Not yet, no.
It's because, see, that's how it is for everybody who hasn't seen Star Wars. They don't know the greatness of Star Wars if they've never seen it.
Well,
so
she gets like hyper focused on a particular thing. Like it was Godzilla for a little while, and then Harry Potter for a long while.
Yeah,
and then
shocking.
Right now it's Bluey. She really likes Bluey.
I don't know what Bluey is.
It's a children's cartoon from Australia, but it's on Disney Plus has been streaming it, so she's like super into Bluey right now. So
well, if there's ever older male fans in their 30s that get into Bluey, maybe then I'll learn about it, just like with Bronies with My Little Pony.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, right.
How has your month been?
It's been pretty good. Just catching up on a lot of things. Finished watching Mr. Robot a few days ago. That was a good series. Pretty interesting and fun, and I definitely recommend it for anybody interested in computers, or because it's all about, a hacker, and he has like multiple personalities and everything. It's pretty rad. But yeah, otherwise, I took kind of a break from Star Wars, just focusing on other things, which I think is important. You and I sometimes do that, where we just do other stuff, and it's like I can't live and breathe Star Wars every day like when I was a teenager. It's just not it's not feasible. It's not even healthy, honestly. Because there's so many YouTube channels and podcasts, and everyone's like reading the new book like right when it hits the shelves, and they have to be the first person to review the book and put up all the Easter eggs and all the continuity stuff, and I'm just like, that's all you guys. I can't keep up. So, but yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi is coming. We're mere days away, and we got a second trailer. What did you think of this official trailer of Obi-Wan Kenobi?
It's the final trailer, right?
I think so. Yeah, it is.
It was good. It got me more excited, mainly for the little interaction between Obi-Wan and Owen.
Yeah, same.
I want to see a lot of that.
I want to see Owen pissed off at Obi-Wan. That's what we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, like I want to see a lot of that, but I have a feeling we're not gonna see a lot of that type of stuff. Not necessarily Obi-Wan interacting with Owen, but
it's funny that, like, and I might have brought this up, I think, on a gameplay video, or maybe even another podcast. It's funny that Owen has not been super expanded in the expanded universe or like the new canon. It's usually just in relation to, say, Luke or Obi-Wan, like pre A New Hope stories, like little glimpses here and there. But whenever they have used him in a comic or a short story, it's always like Obi-Wan pissing him off about Luke or something, and then that's what explains the anger to his comments in A New Hope. That's like the main thing they always have to set up, with an Owen story,
right? Yeah.
Which I'm sure I'd love to learn just more about Owen in general, and Beru. So,
and Klieg.
Yeah, and Klieg, exactly, Owen's father. And what happened to him between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. I think he died. According to the background
Well, I
lore,
mean, presumably, but
presumably, maybe his he just couldn't handle rolling around with that repulsor rascal anymore.
he he blew he
He
blew his
killed
brains
himself.
out. Like, what's that actor's name? He was really, it sucks so bad. He was on Seinfeld. I don't remember his character. He had a small recurring character, I think, for like one season or
Huh.
something. But he was in other stuff like Lord of Illusion, and he was in Super Troopers and stuff. And he attempted to uh, end his life by shooting himself in the head, but he survived it and had to call 911. And it was because
Oh,
he had already had like partial amputation of his feet or something because of
yeah, yeah.
diabetes, and he was like scheduled to like lose a leg or something, and he was like just
Oh,
super
dude.
down and stuff. And gosh, what is his name? He did end up dying, I think, back in like 2016 or something like that, or 2014. I think the
Yeah.
suicide attempt was um in around 2010. Now I gotta look him up because it's gonna
Well,
bother me.
it's a great way to kick off this podcast with a lot of positivity and talking about
I know, right?
death
So it's so
and
relevant. It's
suicide.
all because of Klieg Lars
Thanks
and
a lot, Klieg.
his missing leg. It was
Those Tuscans.
Daniel. Well, I really like the actor. It's Daniel von Bargen.
Okay, Dan. I'm not familiar with him.
He
Maybe if I saw him, I'd know him. But
if you saw him, you would recognize him. He was in RoboCop
yeah.
3, apparently.
Oh,
And
okay.
you've watched that recently. I know we talked
Yes, I
about that.
did. Unfortunately.
Um, oh wow, he's in Thinner, Super Troop. He was in Super Troopers, like I mentioned. Oh, Basic
Hmm.
Instinct. I think he was one of the cops in Basic
Oh,
Instinct.
yeah, yeah. I know the guy. Just as soon as you said Basic Instinct, and then I visualized who he was in RoboCop 3. Yeah, I recall the guy.
And he's the police chief, I think, in Super Troopers.
Yeah,
The let's see. Okay, in Seinfeld, he was Mr. Kruger.
yeah.
He had 4 episodes on Seinfeld. Anyway,
By the way, speaking of, this ties back into Star Wars. When I was watching RoboCop 3, I think it was the main guy that betrays the little group of homeless people that RoboCop is working for. That was the guy, the actor that was also in Office Space and then was the watermonger in the Book of Boba Fett. So
oh,
he's in
yeah,
RoboCop 3. I was like, there's that guy again, and I never remembered. But
yeah,
yeah,
the
it's just it,
watermonger.
there was a bunch of people in RoboCop 3, like because I hadn't seen it in 27 years or something, and I was like, oh wow, there's that guy, that always happens.
Yeah,
Um anyway, we like
uh,
the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer. It's pretty cool.
yeah.
We're
So yeah, Klieglar's clearly ended his life due to
clearly,
depression from riding on the repulsor chair.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Tuscans.
it got me kind of excited. I feel like this is kind of make or break. I don't know for.
It could be. It's probably, here's the thing. We know the patterns at this point, especially now having a couple live action series with Star Wars and stuff like Mando and Book of Boba Fett. The pattern is going to be, especially with this one, because it's got Ewan and there's more. It seems to be a good indicator of quality, I should say.
Mhm.
I think people are going to love this one for the most part. Probably 75, 85% will love it, I'll say. There's always going to be 5 to 10% that think it's the worst thing ever created on the history of the planet.
Well,
And
I
that's
will
fine.
say I'm interested to see if they're gonna do anything about the Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor, because somebody had posted as if Disney had gone and fixed him,
Uh,
in the trailer. So like I didn't even notice that it was like a fan had done it, but
uh-huh.
I was like, oh, they went back and like fixed him, kind
But
of
it was
like
a fan thing.
yeah, it was as a fan had done it. I was like, that looks pretty good. It looks better than he was, but
I saw some fan fixes even after the first trailer, and they did look good. And just like the
yeah.
people that the guys that redid Cad Bane to look more Clone Wars like, and
Hmm.
then other changes like that. So with the world of deepfakes, also, it's so hard to tell. Like if something is put out there anonymously, it's if you don't know, it's like, whoa, is that real? Is that not?
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
but yeah, I'd put
so,
money in the bank that we're gonna get the Inquisitor that we don't want. That's just
uh,
likely
yeah, I feel like if they were going to fix him, they would have shown that in the final
in the newer
trailer.
trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Um,
they had to update the date too to reflect the new date of the series drop. Because the first teaser said May 25th,
yeah.
and then it was like it was like 4 days later they had that little Ewan thing. Hey everybody, our new date is May 27th. It's like they're just now figuring this out right after they dropped the teaser. So it's like, and you know, maybe this is all obviously to tie in with Celebration because they might even it's going on, like in a handful of days here. They might show it at Celebration. I think on that one of those dates is where
Yeah.
it lines up. That's likely what it is. But still, you would think, even with Celebration being planned months in advance, you'd think they'd kind of have this together a little better at this point.
Yeah.
But
Well,
whatever.
yeah. Speaking of Celebration,
Yeah, it's been 24 years, 23 years since Celebration 99. Let's talk about that. All our memories leading up to it
I
and the whole
remember nothing. Almost. That's not true. I remember some stuff.
Yeah, it's been a long time. There's a lot of snippets of memory that flash through, but as far as like detailed memories, it's not as crystal clear because we didn't have digital camera back then.
Yeah,
They
it's
were so
that definitely helps. The advent of digital cameras and like basically unlimited opportunity to
yeah.
take pictures of things
Hmm.
um, helps document life events more so
Yeah.
than back then. I mean, we had just regular little point and shoot film cameras,
Yeah,
and
and we didn't take any photos of the drive out and the drive back. It was all I think all our photos were there, which is fine. But as we've realized, doing 3 road trips to the first 3 celebrations, the journey to and from is almost more than it's like the best thing, really. It's like I don't know. It's just
well, it's
the possibility of what awaits you.
um, my strongest memories are from the trip to and from versus the actual event. So it's kind of
Yeah,
funny in that the pictures kind of help just prop up any
yes.
memories that are missing of the actual event itself.
Exactly. Yeah, because like when even for the first celebration, you can look online and find photos, and all it really does is kind of look like our own photos. But the trips to and from, whatever photos we might have taken or the memories we have, that's unique to us. So it gives it more of a feeling of a place and time rather than just a generic event that everybody attended.
Yeah, and
So
it's definitely an event where not very many people were able to attend because it was so
yeah,
small. Um,
yeah. Wasn't it about 5 to 10,000 somewhere in there?
I think it was supposed to be
7,000?
15,000 people, I
15,000, yeah.
believe,
Yeah,
which is nothing compared
that
to the
is
sort of
nothing.
events these days.
Yeah, yeah, I know. They're
Could have been less.
50,000
I'm not
plus
sure.
now.
Um,
Yeah,
so from the beginning, so how it all started was I decided that I wanted to go to the celebration. I think they announced it late '98,
yeah, I think it
maybe.
was mid to late 98, maybe fall.
Yeah. Um, and I think kind of just on a whim, I was like, I was at the time I was 18 years old. I had a car. I had a um,
A little white Honda, right?
yep, my white Honda station wagon,
The Millennium Falcon,
and
as it became known.
I had a little bit of disposable income. So kind of on a whim, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna buy tickets to this because tickets weren't even that much. I think looking back at some discussion about the event, I think the tickets were like $34 a piece,
Yeah,
something
that's
like that.
cheap. That's
I
cheap.
think because I don't
Yeah,
have like my original receipts or anything like that.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so I kind of just bought them, and I was like, I'll just figure out what I'm going to do about getting there and all that stuff later. Like who I'm going
yeah.
to go with because I bought 2 tickets, and the intent was my original intent was to go with my friend Nick, Nick Berube.
Mm-hmm.
But in the months leading up to the event, he sort of was like, I don't know, wishy washy and flaky
Mhm.
about whether he's going to go or not. And so I started
Yeah,
bugging you
yeah.
about going with me.
And we had never met in person yet. We were just
Right.
AOL friends for a couple years there, so it was like whoa, that's a big deal in itself, like hanging out. And I don't think I had never. I think you're the first person I met on the internet first, and then in person. I don't think there was anyone I'd ever met after knowing them online at that point.
Yeah.
So in retrospect, that's kind of funny when I think about it.
Yeah. Um, so it was about a month before the event. I started like prodding and poking you about, hey,
Yeah.
my friend
I
Nick's
don't
not going to
know.
go. You
Yeah.
should go with me and stuff. And I think part of
Yeah.
it was, at the time I was living with my grandmother. She was worried about me going alone. I think I was like, well, if I got to go alone, I'll go alone. Um,
Right, right.
but it
Yeah,
was
and the
certainly,
more I talked about it with my mom and my stepdad, who I was living with, they were like, "No, you should go. You should go. We'll give you a little bit of money." I hadn't started working yet. That wouldn't come until later in the fall, but
yeah.
they were like, "Yeah, we'll give you some money." And then yeah, the more I thought about it, I was like, "This is kind of a cool opportunity because I had never been west of like the Mojave Desert, or sorry, east of the Mojave Desert. Like
Yeah.
all my trips I had done in my life were Oregon and Washington and
Yeah.
like the edge of Nevada, like by Carson City. And I had just never done a road trip east, and it's just Colorado, but still that the idea of it was exciting. And then I was like, but it was weird because at the time I was very, I don't want to say I was antisocial, but like I was very introverted. And it was just like, I had my good friends I talked to online who later moved and stuff, but it was kind of like I had to get out of my comfort zone and just go do something. So
Hmm.
I think the excitement though of a trip, especially with Star Wars and it being celebration and that being such a big part of our lives, I would be stupid to not go. I was thinking if I didn't go, I would regret this. So I was like, yes, let's do it.
Yeah. I finally twisted your arm enough to go a week before. Was it a week or was it just a couple days even?
You
But
might have you might have convinced me a week before, but I still had to kind of prep at home some
yeah.
things, and then I still went down. I traveled down, stayed at my dad's house for I think just one night, and then from there, then he drove me down to Santa Ana where we met up at the Barnes and Noble
Right, because you were with your mom and stepdad. You were living you
in
were up in
Morro
Morro
Bay.
Bay at the time, right? And then your
Yeah,
dad
yeah,
was
and my dad
in
is in Moore Park.
Moore Park. Yeah.
Right there in Ventura County where I am now, not far from there. And yeah, so and then traveling, yeah, because like Morro Bay to Moore Park is like 2.5 hours. It's almost 2.5 hours from Moore Park to Orange County. So
Uh
it's
huh.
like, especially with traffic. But yeah, so I had to kind of segment everything. And that kind of brings up, like you and I, we in prepping things we were trying to figure out, oh, we need some road music and things. That was a big thing. So I was like, I made a cassette with some road music. But then I remember getting uh Asia's self-titled album the day before when I was still in Moore Park. And then that album kind of it was a soundtrack for that year, but that trip also. And then Asia kind of became a thing because even when I did well, like when we got to Denver, I got another CD of theirs there. And then even on the second and third road trips in subsequent years, it became kind of a tradition to get one of Asia's new albums that might have just come out. I
Mm-hmm.
would get it on these trips. So it was kind of a one of those little traditions that just I would do for
Yeah.
fun. And I was like
Um.
that.
So we had I believe met up on the Sunday before we left.
Hmm.
Um.
Yeah, I
So we
remember just to reiterate from one of our gameplay videos because I talked about it in our Jedi Knight playthrough. I remember you showing me the Behind the Magic CD-ROM when I came over because I was like, I got to check that out. I don't have it. I don't know anybody with it. I got to see the deleted scenes with Biggs. That was like a big deal. And then
Oh yeah, back then.
yeah, and yeah, no YouTube or anything. And I played a little bit of Jedi Knight, I think, and that might have been even later after getting back. But um, and I remember you showing me Troops, the fan film,
Hmm.
which again you would have grabbed probably off of Napster at the time or something. And then Hardware Wars, you had the VHS of
Oh yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So that was I when I see those things now, even it reminds me of that time. But yeah, we had like I think just that evening to kind of prepare and collect our thoughts before we hit the road.
Yeah, hit the supermarket to get some cheap crap food
Stater
for the road.
Brothers.
Stater Bros, yeah.
That was the first time I'd ever been in a Stater Brothers because we didn't have any up in Ventura County, and we still don't. So
Yeah.
I only see them when I'm on the road somewhere else.
Yeah. Hey man, it's the heartland of California.
Yeah, what was their tagline?
That was it.
That was it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The Heartland.
Yeah.
Good times.
Anyway, so it was Sunday. Um actually let's see, if we go back to 99, it would have been Sunday the 25th of
Yeah.
April.
Yep. April
Because
25th.
celebration one was Friday, Saturday, Sunday of
Yeah, I believe so. It was the
April.
30th.
Yeah, April
Yeah.
30,
Mm-hmm.
May
May
1st,
1st
and
and
May
2nd.
2nd. So
Yeah.
we met up on the 25th, and then
Yeah.
we left on Monday the 26th.
Yes.
And we were coming from Southern California, Orange County, California, and driving to Denver. And probably for most people, you could do that in, if you're really pushing, I know you could do it in a day because I drive to Durango, Colorado in one day for my current road trips for
Yeah.
family. But we spread out what is probably a 1 or 2 day trip into 3 days to get there.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
lazily
That
driving.
was definitely my lifestyle at the time and has been in later years off and on, but especially in my late teen, early 20s. Like
Yeah,
I used to be up all night and working is one thing. If I had a job, it's different. But like the times I wasn't working, I might have had insomnia too. So yeah, I used
right.
to I'd wake up at noon, or even later. And yeah, it wasn't as bad as other road trips. C2, which we'll talk about another time. We left even later, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
that
Because we're
that's a story for another day.
we're the kings of procrastination and
More or
laziness and
less, more or
staying up
less.
late. And but
Yeah,
it's funny thinking back at just how concerned we were at the cost of everything that we would even
yeah.
spread it out that much. Like
This Motel 6 is $25 a night. How dare they?
that's
While walking
this
away
is
with
an
our top hat and
outrage.
cape.
Yeah.
This is an outrage. Yeah,
um,
yeah.
we even discussed. I know that we had discussed paying, just getting the single room, and then you bringing a sleeping bag.
Yeah, we
Not
didn't want
even
to pay that $5 for the second
this.
person.
Yeah, the $5 surcharge for the
But then that
second bed.
$5 was then my last meal on the road at Wiener Schnitzel on the
That
way back.
yes,
So
and that would come later.
yeah, yeah.
So first leg, we just drove. I don't even know what time we left, but it was
I
probably
think it was like afternoon. It wasn't that bad. I think we probably left at like 1 or 2, if I had to guess, because when we eventually did get to St.
St.
George
George,
in
Utah.
Utah, which is where we stayed, there was still light because when we got there, we walked to the nearest Taco Bell, and it was
Yes,
like sunset or
which
late afternoon.
which
So
that Taco Bell was the most amazing Taco Bell I had ever been in, and it always sticks out in my head because
because it was filled with bodacious blonde babes.
it was it was run and operated exclusively by young, blonde-haired, blue-eyed women. Uh,
Yeah,
and I suppose that's just kind of the stereotype for Utah in general,
right,
with
right.
the heavy Mormon population. But
Yeah,
um, And let me tell you, every subsequent visit, not that experience to that Taco Bell. And I know that
No.
Taco Bell's not there anymore. It's moved down the street, and definitely not run
Yeah.
by uh, bodacious babes
Yeah.
anymore. But that
Bummer.
was it was crazy, especially coming from SoCal fast food. It was like it was
Yeah.
almost like
Yeah.
stepping into an In and Out, except it was all
Yeah.
females.
Yeah, right.
Because In and Out's
Exactly.
always like clean cut kids,
Yeah.
young kids and
My
stuff.
other memory of that Taco Bell was that it was the first one I could recall where they had all the new or current Mountain Dew flavors across the whole fountain. So it was
Yeah.
like Code Red, the blue, the green, like
Uh
all the
huh.
Mountain Dews. Because
Yeah.
Mountain Dew had just started doing that like in the
Right.
late 90s. So
Yeah.
that was interesting. And then I think I got my typical I used to get the kids meal because it used to be the bargain because you kind of get more for what you paid. It was like
Hmm.
$3.99 or something. And to me, it was like the perfect size. You get a burrito, you get a baby nacho, and you get a drink, and
Yeah.
or a taco, whichever. But
Hey,
yeah,
we got those kid meals a lot in general,
we
just because of all the Star Wars tie-ins for special
we
editions and
that's
stuff.
right, that's right. And I don't know if at this time when we were there, if they had started the episode one promotion, that might have been a week or two still to come. I'm not sure,
I'm pretty
because
sure they didn't, because if they did, we would have only eaten Taco Bell on that trip,
I think
and we
so, and
didn't.
I would have kept one of the boxes or something, and I know
Yes.
I didn't from that trip.
Yes.
So that's kind of interesting. But
Because later on they did
yeah,
that whole TriStar Foods or whatever, so they had all the product
yeah,
tie-in stuff at Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and KFC.
KFC, exactly.
Um,
Which we talked about in our collecting podcast
yeah.
earlier late last
Anyway,
year or whatever.
so St. George, Utah, stayed at Motel 6. Amazing Taco Bell, just greatest Taco Bell ever.
Hell yeah.
But so the next day, on Tuesday the 13th, we drove from St.
Wait,
George.
what? Wait,
Oh
what
no, no,
day?
I'm I was looking at the wrong date on the calendar. The 27th. We went
I
back
was
in
gonna
time.
say
On the 27th, Tuesday the
the Honda
27th,
DeLorean.
yeah, I know. We drove to Grand Junction, Colorado, which that's the most that's the funniest part. It's like at either point we should have just driven either all the way to Grand Junction on the first day, or
Yeah.
from St. George all the way to Denver. Like that stop in Grand Junction seems like kind of a waste, you
I
know.
suspect that we left really late that morning or afternoon or
Oh,
whatever.
probably. Knowing us, we did.
I mean, obviously there's a cutoff time because you got to check out at noon or whatever it is. I think these days, most of the time it's 11 a.m. But checking our notes, it was clear that back then Motel 6 was like noon because I always remember that. But still, we must have waffled in St.
Oh,
George.
I know that we were always like,
Oh,
seconds before checkout, we were,
there was that it wasn't a CVS at the time, but it was like a Rite Aid. I
yes,
remember swinging in there, which became the tradition in St.
right.
George for every subsequent
Yeah.
trip. But I remember getting a package of jelly beans and like
Yeah, we got
that.
some
See, all
candies there.
some candy. This is also me, like especially when I started working later that year and getting disposable income. This was me just being a total like kid with money and being like, "Whoa, I get to buy all the candy I want right on." And they're like, "Yeah, jelly beans
Yeah.
and just whatever, but
Yeah.
cheap snack foods and stuff." But
And actually the Taco Bell the location has moved across the street from
from that
that
Rite Aid,
Rite Aid or whatever it is now.
CVS,
So on the next, whenever they decide to hold a celebration in either Denver or Indianapolis again, and we go,
they must.
we can just cross the street very
Exactly.
conveniently cross the street for our candy and our Taco
Yeah.
Bell.
So I remember driving through Utah. We made that stop at the kind of like the plateaus.
Yeah, it's an overlook,
Yeah, yeah.
scenic turnout or whatever.
We did that on all three trips, but this was the first one. And I wish we had gotten pictures of that first time, but it was very cool. I had never seen desert imagery like this, because the only desert I'd seen was going through Mojave when I was a kid, and
Yeah,
that's just kind of flat and boring. But I had never seen these crazy plateaus like what Utah has.
yeah,
So
and Utah is a lot. It's a lot different.
very,
Um,
very.
yeah, and I don't. Again, I don't. It's funny that we didn't take very many pictures of the actual trip. But I guess we were just like, oh, we
Got
gotta
to save our
conserve our
film.
film for the celebration.
Yeah,
We
later.
we have to save our film so we can annoy Anthony Daniels and
Yeah,
everybody with our flash photography in the dark
yes.
tent.
I do remember while driving through Utah, probably like leaving St. George, I remember playing my cassette of Asia's Alpha, which then I bought on CD at the Media Play in Denver, which we'll talk about more in a bit. But then when we got to Grand Junction, that is where we came across, I think on this trip, our first Barnes and Noble outside of California.
Yeah,
So that was a cool Barnes and Noble. It was one of those ones that's not a two-story. That's very it was just a single story and it was spread out and like, whoa, where am I? This isn't my Barnes and Noble.
right. And I don't know that there's hardly anyone that gives two shits about how different Barnes and Nobles are, other than
If
us.
anyone does, it's us. And
Yeah,
this is carried through even on my road trips in recent years where I love swinging into a town's Barnes and Noble and I love checking out the Star Wars section and just getting the vibe and getting a coffee and just see I Barnes and Noble for me, even though it's just a generic chain bookstore, these days they are the only chain bookstore holding the fort down,
hmm,
but they're a place I will always associate with Star Wars because when I was first getting into the novels and I was going to my local one in Ventura, that's of course where I got Heir to the Empire and all this stuff. So to me, I don't know, they've always been my go-to place for new Star Wars content, whether it was a magazine or a book or comic or whatever, you
yeah,
know. So we had to check out what they had and it's where that particular location is where I loaded up on some of the magazines that had been dropping. So I got the latest Premiere magazine, which had like four different covers, but I think I just bought one. There was like Qui-Gon on a cover, Obi-Wan.
I actually think I was when I was digging through my stuff to find some of my Celebration One items that I had
Mhm.
saved, like the program guide and all that stuff. I think I ran across mine.
Nice. Yeah.
I have it. It's in a Barnes and Noble bag, like wrapped up. But there's like the
Nice.
four issues,
Yeah, yeah,
or the
yeah.
four covers.
I later did get another. I might have even completed all four later, but I know that initially I think I just got the Qui-Gon one. And then I also got Next Generation, number 53. I have the number right here. Star Wars Episode 1. The Games Revealed was the cover story, and it had like a Phantom Menace image of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan from that game. But they were also talking about other games that were because right around this time, actually, on I believe I think it was April. Oh, I don't have it on my notes here. Right around this time is when X-Wing Alliance came out. It was like
Hmm.
April 99. So game magazines were also talking about that. And then, but there was this huge deluge, obviously, of episode one tie-ins. And Racer was coming. So like there was all these games and PC Gamer was another one I picked up. It had Darth Maul on the cover. So I got three magazines and I think somewhere I still have the receipt and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's my memory of that Barnes and Noble.
right. And I think we checked out the mall there in Grand Junction.
That sounds right.
Um, and another Motel 6, and that was right next to
Another Motel
the
6. Yes.
airport. I think it was a normal airport.
That
I just
sounds
remember it had a
right.
jet. There was like a jet
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the entrance, like on a big
Right.
platform
Like
or
one of
whatever.
those, like a fighter jet on a big statue stand kind of thing, kind of like
Yes.
what you'd see at other Air Force bases and stuff
Yeah.
near the entrances. I think that night on Motel 6, for whatever reason, I remembered seeing Poltergeist on like HBO or something,
Mm-hmm.
which I think was my first time seeing that movie from beginning to end. I'd only seen pieces of it as a kid. So I always associate that stop in Grand Junction with Poltergeist. So
Yeah.
there'll be other movies I remember at other times of the trip, but
Uh-huh.
that's the one I think of.
Um, so then we left Grand Junction the next day, which was the 28th. Am I
Yes.
getting that right? Okay.
Hmm.
Not the 13th.
No.
And that drive into Denver was, I mean, it's just pretty standard drive, but we decided to take a scenic route. I've tried to find since then. I've tried to find like a sign or something, just going on the Google Street View on the
Yeah.
highway.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't been able to find it because I just distinctly remember seeing a sign for, oh, scenic route, and we were
And
just
also
like,
we had my spiral road atlas.
yeah,
So that was kind of our main thing because this is before GPS. I mean, I'm sure there was primitive hand punch in GPS at the time, but not on phones certainly. And actually, cell phones weren't even super common, not for the average person yet. They were still like business and
right,
rich folks had them in '99. We
yeah,
did not have, but we had to use my road atlas. And yes, we at some point we saw. It might have been when because we stopped at a couple or a rest stop. I don't know if it was before or after the scenic route, but remember that rest stop right by the kind of the river
yeah. That was right after. That was
right after. Okay.
so we took the 330, or I guess it's the 65 or the 330 off of the
Hmm.
70.
That
I
sounds
guess I
right.
guess the turnoff would be the 65, and then it turns into the 330.
Yes, yes, that's it.
And we thought we got lost because
Totally,
that
totally.
the 330 turns into a dirt road and it starts just winding through the countryside a little
Nowhere.
bit. I
And
mean,
there's the
it feels like,
switchbacks.
yeah, it
It's
feels like
just
it's nowhere.
switchbacks.
Yeah.
And we're thinking like this is the scenic route, and like we
Well, I mean, it
stopped to
was
like
scenic.
it was scenic. We stopped at one point because there was a cattle skull on the side of the road with like ants crawling all over it and death abounding. And I remember remember all the dried mud because
Yes.
it was like it was scraping the bottom of your Honda because
Mm-hmm.
it was like the pits of the dried mud with the
Yeah,
wheel.
a 91 Honda Accord station wagon is not equipped for dirt roads
No,
in
no.
the back dirt roads in Colorado.
Yeah, yeah. This was like a road for meant for trucks for sure, pickups
Well,
and
we're just
four-wheel
two
drive.
stupid kids. You know, we didn't know what
That
was
was the
going
fun of
on.
it.
We're just like, okay. Well, I was like, and at that point, we're just like, well, we can't turn around. We just gotta
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
going.
That was the thing. Keep going. We're like holding hands like Thelma and Louise. Just keep go. Drive
Well,
off the cliff.
It's funny looking at the map now because I don't think it was on your atlas. At least the 330, the part of the 330 we were on. I don't think it was on the atlas. I'm not sure though. I don't remember.
I'm sure it was on the larger map of Colorado in some form because it had every highway. But yeah, I don't know about the dirt road part. That might have not been.
Yeah. Um, so I mean, looking at it now, it's like pretty obvious. It's like, okay, that's not that bad. Here's the little switchbacks, and it just
And what's funny is
feeds into
when we looked
silt.
at the map,
Hmm.
it looked like it would cut across back to the main highway, and it looked like it would be more or less adding 10 minutes or
Right.
20 minutes tops.
Yes.
We added like an extra hour or two.
Right.
It was like way more. So
Which worked out because we
yeah,
had allowed ourselves so much time by
right, right.
splitting the drive up into 3 days. But
That's true.
um, so it eventually spit us back out into Silt, I think is the town.
Hmm.
Antlers might be the bigger town right there.
Hmm.
And then shortly after that, we hit the rest stop.
That's right,
Um,
by the creek.
yeah.
I
Um,
remember, here's a random memory. I remember eating a package of cheese crackers at that rest stop. That's one of those
Man,
random things.
those must have been some really good cheese
The Keebler,
crackers.
Keebler. Yeah,
It was
I
the
used to love
Keebler
those.
crackers. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the white ones with the cheese. Yeah, they were good. But I just always remember that when I think of that first stop at the rest stop. Um,
Yeah, and
Most of my memories are from the later
it was the
celebration
Blair
trips, but
Ranch rest area
yeah,
off of
yeah,
the
yeah.
70,
Right.
which that again would become a habitual stop for us. We would always
It
stop
became
at
our
the
own meme, like
wait,
later.
and you know what's funny in looking at the map now, the highway this portion of the 70 highway is called which even at the time in '99 wasn't a thing for Star Wars, but it was the Grand Army of the Republic Highway, or
Oh, that's
is,
right. That's right. I do remember seeing that later. That's
which
really funny.
it's that thing. I think I was looking up. It's something that came out of the Civil War or something.
Right. Right.
Um, and then obviously Lucas used it later for Attack of the Clones. But
Yeah. It's funny that it was giving us like prequel hints before we even knew.
yeah, well, I don't know that we even knew at the time. I mean, now
That's
you just
true.
look at
It
the
would be
map and it
later.
says it thanks to Google. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so anyway, we
Foreshadowing.
stopped at the rest stop, and then it was just pretty uneventful, although snowy drive into Denver the rest of the way. I think when
Yeah.
we're topping the Rockies.
The Rockies. And this is, I mean, we later saw this, we documented this on later trips, but you realized very quickly when you go to those higher elevations how it affects chip bags,
Oh
potato
yeah, of
chips.
course, yeah. The lack of the pressure difference and the chip bags are like
Yeah.
ready to
I,
explode.
I, I didn't know I didn't even think of that until I looked down and I saw it, and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on with this bag of Fritos?" And it was like full of air
Yeah,
and the pressure and everything, and it was a really cool thing. And then, yeah, we later documented that with later
yeah.
trips.
Or like discovering things that everybody knows.
I know,
Stupid 18-year-old kids.
from
This is so
California.
amazing. This is so amazing.
I know.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, what
and
did
then
we just did we drop into the Motel 6 and then just save going around town for the next day,
yeah.
I
So
think.
we kind of talked about this in preparation for this, trying to figure out the timing and everything. Um, I believe that yeah, we got in on a Wednesday, and then we had Thursday to just kind of dick around in Denver and
Yeah.
check out like all
Yeah.
the stores we could and stuff. Um,
Barnes and Noble.
we got to hit every Barnes and Noble on the planet. Um, and the reason I remember it so strongly was because uh, I remember the what is it on back in around that time 98 99 McDonald's had a campaign for 29-cent cheeseburger or hamburgers and 59-cent cheeseburgers, I think.
Yeah, I believe
I think
so.
that was the difference, or 49 cent, I don't
Yes.
remember.
Yeah.
On I think later, I don't know, at that time it was Wednesdays.
Yes.
But other times they did that deal, it was like on Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever.
Hmm.
um, but around that time it was Wednesdays, and I just remember going to a McDonald's when we got into town. We it was late in the
Gotta do
afternoon.
that.
It was very late in the afternoon. The sun was
Save
dying,
the pennies.
um, and we had already gotten to the Motel 6 on uh,
Yeah.
Federal Boulevard or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I remember going to McDonald's, going through the drive-through, and asking them, "Hey, are you guys doing the 29-cent hamburger deal?" And they're like, "No, we don't. We're not participating in that." I just said, "Forget it." I just drove through the drive-through. That's
Yes.
how cheap we were.
Right. Now, I remember, see, I initially thought when we were going to talk about this, it must have been another time we got this on later in the trip or maybe or something. Remember there was at one point we were in the drive-through and there was a guy taking forever in front of us.
That was in Flagstaff.
Oh, that was in Flag. Okay,
It
we'll
was
get
at
to that.
night. Yeah, that was at night in
We will
Flagstaff.
get to that. I'll save
Right,
that story for later.
right. So we
Anyway,
got in on a
yeah.
Wednesday, and it was. I don't even know why we went to McDonald's or anywhere, because there was a Burger King like caddy corner right next the
The Motel
to the
6.
Motel 6. Yeah.
Hmm. But
Um,
was that Burger King there at the time?
I think it was because I think that
It very much stuck out in your memory. I don't know.
I don't know. You know what? I was gonna say like one of us got one of their breakfast deals, which was like cinnamon rolls with like some
Hmm.
dipping sauce thing.
Probably not me because I don't. I that's not the kind of thing I would have gotten at the time. I
Right.
was not really a Burger King fan, and certainly not for breakfast. So that must have been you.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, and this is the problem. This becomes a huge problem for C2 and C3 for me, is
Yeah,
that those trips just meld together in my head, and it's just the
yeah,
same trip. Like it's just
yeah,
overlaid,
yeah.
and there's no difference. Everything that happened on both of those trips happened at the
I
same
know,
time.
I
And to a
know.
lesser extent, the Denver one, because we basically use the same route, at least up until Denver. But
Yes, yes, very
um,
true.
so we got on Wednesday, and then Thursday we left for just finding stuff, which we did find Media Play,
Yeah,
one of the most amazing, not huge chain, the smaller chain of sort of, I don't know what it would be classified as.
it was
There's
just like a
no,
media store.
yeah, I mean it was just a media store, but it
It
had
was a
like
media store,
a
but
little
they
bit of
had
everything.
books. They had books too, so it
Yeah,
was kind of
great.
like
It was like a
it. You
Barnes
know
and
what?
Noble and a Best Buy together.
Or I was even thinking Suncoast because they had like posters and T-shirts, and it was movie oriented, but also music oriented. So
Yeah.
it was weird. It was also like a tower because, like, I mean, that's where I got Alpha by Asia on CD, and
Hmm.
that's an older album from 1983, but I bought it brand new for 9.99 because I was like, yeah, it's a great price.
Yeah.
And yeah, they hadn't yet put out their episode one merchandise because that would come a few year or a few days later
Right.
when they had the big midnight kind of thing. But there was like, things here and there we were just checking out. Yeah, what a great store. We went there all three trips.
Yeah. And of course, now it's a Goodwill. Doesn't exist anymore, sadly. Um, but yeah, I have. I remember getting certain shirts there, even
Yeah, yeah,
later on later trips.
yeah, yeah.
I was able to get a bunch of my adventure journals there. I
Hmm.
think not all of
Yeah,
them, because I
yeah.
think I was having trouble with. Uh, I had borrowed my grandmother's credit card to be able to pay for certain things.
Right.
Um, so I wasn't able to get. It was like it was like finding a holy grail of like, adventure
It
journals.
was because usually at that time, well, for one thing, Weston Games had dissipated about a year earlier,
Yeah,
exactly a year earlier, and there was no more stuff being printed. Also, the Adventure Journal, if you would have seen one around that time, it would have been like the last or the latest one.
yeah,
It was very rare to go into a store and see older issues of it, like in
yeah. Because
pristine
they wouldn't be
condition.
they wouldn't be stocked heavily. There
They
wouldn't be a
wouldn't be
ton of them.
stocked
They would
heavily.
have been picked up by then.
Yeah, the only places I saw old ones like that might be a used bookstore, like say Bookman's in Flagstaff, or maybe a local comic book shop. Some of my local ones sometimes had older issues, like in their back stock and everything. At this point, I think I had already, because I was a heavy buyer of adventure journals. In this point, I was only missing one,
Yeah.
which was like number 13 or 14, I think, and they made 15. And it wasn't until 2017 on eBay that I threw down like 25 bucks or something
Oof.
and got my last one, which was, yeah, it was kind of a chunk, but I was like, oh, it's done. I got the complete
Right.
collection.
Right.
So yeah, those are
Um.
awesome.
So yeah, I mean, we just kind of checked out Denver, drove around to the different stores. I think
Another
I think there was a
random,
Barnes and Noble we went to, right?
I
Somewhere.
think so. I think so. Another random memory of, especially with like what was on the radio at the time or MTV or whatever. I remember sitting in the car. I think you were running into, I don't know, it was a liquor store. It was somewhere where I didn't need to go in. And I was just sitting in the car listening to the radio, and Rob Zombie's Dragula was on because
Yeah.
that was all over the radio at the
Yeah. Heavy
time. His
rotation.
heavy rotation, his first solo album, I believe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that song. I was thinking of
Um.
it.
And then the next day was the beginning of the celebration.
Yeah, we didn't know what to expect, really. It
Yeah,
was like, whoa,
I'd never been to a big convention or anything.
yeah, what are we getting ourselves into here?
And that's kind of where my strong memories end, at least until we leave.
Yeah,
Um, because I remember the rain, obviously,
Ugh,
and the
the rain and
mud.
the mud.
Um,
It was our Woodstock 94.
uh, yeah, I don't know if it was that bad,
Well, it
I,
was our Woodstock
but you know what?
94.
I remember just not caring. Like,
I
I've
didn't either.
I've read now going on to old news group posts and stuff. A lot of people were pissed. A lot
Oh,
of people were
yeah.
very disappointed with um, how things were put together, the location, and everything.
There was a
Because
lot of grumbling even in the line from people I mean, we were all kind of miserable to some degree, especially if you didn't have an umbrella, which we didn't.
no, we
We
didn't.
didn't prepare in that way, which is
Um,
stupid. And that happened in later years in Indianapolis. I didn't bring an umbrella,
right,
but
and we're
yeah,
too cheap to go buy one.
apparently so.
But that whole it was at the Wings Over the Rockies Air and Space Museum in Denver,
Right.
and
Hangers.
now it's all built up. It's completely built up around it. It's all
Yeah.
paved roads and houses and condos and stores and everything. But
And
back then it
we
was
saw
nothing
the
but dirt and mud.
nothing but dirt and mud. And we saw the beginnings of that, like on C2 when we revisited there. It was already built up a little bit with tract homes and
Oh
things.
yeah,
Although
yeah,
I think we might have seen the wood structures going up possibly in certain areas of C1
yeah,
off to
yeah.
the side.
Yes,
But yeah, it was definitely spreading out with new gentrification, I guess.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, mud everywhere. We would have to park like, I don't know, like half a mile away and walk for quite a ways to the hangar
It felt
and get in
like quite
line,
a ways. It probably wasn't.
especially with the
Looking at the
mud.
map now at the area, it probably
Yeah.
wasn't that far, but
I think the mud and avoiding puddles made it seem like a long time.
yeah. But yeah, looking at news group posts, a lot of people were pretty pissed off, but I don't remember being pissed. I mean, we have pictures of us with our shoes on the heater in the motel room,
Right, right.
drying out after a wet, muddy day at
Yeah.
the convention, but no complaints. The thing is like weather and all that stuff. You can't control weather. I mean, they were they're doing the best they could, probably finding the best cheapest location they could.
And
It
this
just
is also because the company that owned the Star Wars Insider and the fan club at the time was based in Aurora, which
right.
is basically right there.
Yeah.
So for them, it was kind of convenience based on
Well,
that.
there's
So
there's two things going on. There's convenience, but there's also like, hey, this is where we're located, so how about we just kind of help the local economy too, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
So
In retrospect, it was difficult having it there with that limited, because like in the main hangar, they squeezed in all these special displays and all the toy displays and all the props to look at, but they still, of course, had the old airplanes hanging from the
yeah,
ceiling,
which was
and
kind of cool, you
it was
know?
cool. It added a certain flavor, but in retrospect, it's not really the kind of place you'd want to have a massive Star Wars event. But again, that's what gives it its unique place and time, and it's just like a one-shot thing. Like it was what it was. No
Yeah,
regrets.
yeah,
So yeah, looking at the first day events, obviously I think we went to the opening ceremonies with Anthony Daniels, who had his gold jacket, his kind of shiny gold jacket, which became a common theme that he would wear that jacket at every celebration and every event. And he's such a good MC.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
he really came into his own as a host of these events, and he was so good with all that stuff. And joking and bantering with both the audience and the guests. I couldn't ask for a better host than Anthony, really.
Yeah. But one of the things I remember about Anthony from C1 is he came out into the rain at one point when there was a
That's
bunch of
right.
us lined up for one of the events on one of the days. I think maybe it was day two
I think it was
or
day
day
two.
one. I'm not
Yeah,
sure, but and he
it
came out
might
and
have been
like just
day three
said
also.
hello to everybody, like ran through the line and like shook
Yeah,
people's hands and stuff. And
I regret that he didn't get to us. That was like a bummer, but it was like I was just happy to see him doing it to people in general,
yeah,
and he didn't have to. And
we got
he's
pictures
even
of it. So
we have pictures of it, and he said it's funny. There's been retrospective interviews with him over the years, and they've asked him about like his first celebration, and he's mentioned that as one of his favorite memories, and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't anything planned. He just decided, I have some time here between events. I'm just going to go do this because everyone's miserable,
Yeah.
and it might
Yeah.
uplift them a little bit, and it
Right.
did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
credit to him. Um,
Um,
yeah. So we saw some events, and there was two tents basically. There was massive lines between all the mud. Uh, Going between the two tents, which they called Auditorium A and Auditorium B. One was Anthony Daniels as MC. The other one was Scott Chernoff from Insider.
yeah.
And I think the first day we pretty much saw things in Auditorium A right down the line. It was like Doug Chang and Terrell Whitlich talking about the artwork from episode one, John Knoll talking about ILM and the special effects, Trisha Bigger and Ian McCaig talking about costumes and conceptualization of like Padme's queen outfits and all that stuff. And I think she even brought out the fabrics, like because we saw those on stage that she had the queen's outfit and how it had the lights that lit up
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom on the red one.
Yeah. I remember. I
And
remember that.
yeah, some of those featurettes too, they would show video featurettes
Yeah.
that were all cut together really nice. Those were later the same ones that were on the Phantom Menace DVD,
Mm-hmm.
like 2.5 years later. So some of that got jogged again when I would watch those extras. It would be like, oh yeah, I saw this at C1 or C2, you know?
Yeah.
So that was cool. Um, Ray Park doing his martial arts demonstration on stage.
That was pretty neat. Got some really bad pictures of that.
Some really dark, bad. That was the thing. We were loading our cameras and snapping away like a couple of Japanese tourists the whole
A lot
time.
of people were, but yeah, it was. Looking at the pictures, it's like, why did I take a picture of that? Like,
Oh
what was the
man. And
point?
and having it be on Polaroids and not digital, you couldn't see what you had just taken. And you're like, well, I don't know if I got a good shot there. I got to do this one now from this angle. And we ended up with hundreds of Polaroids. It cost
Well,
like what? How much did it
well,
cost to?
not Polaroid.
I say Polaroid, but you
But
know what I mean.
yeah,
I just
you
mean
mean like a
film.
regular, yeah, film printout camera thing.
Right.
Um,
Cost like $50 or something, or $100 to
um,
develop these later.
yeah,
Because I threw you $50. I paid my half for you to develop
yeah, I went to
my
a
half,
Fox
and
Photo. And got them all developed. I probably,
I still have that box with all the packets of photos. There's so many, and there's like 90% bad. It's all dark and a
yeah,
tent, and they're just
I
they are
had,
what they are.
I ponied up too for the digital. Like I got all the pictures on CD as well.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. That was just starting to come out with that feature.
yeah.
And
Um, and that was like, ridiculously expensive for what it is nowadays, but
yeah, here you
um
go on your 4.5 floppy disk.
it was, it was a CD. It was,
Oh, it was a CD.
yeah,
Okay.
it was 1999. It wasn't
Okay.
93.
Wasn't 90 93.
Wasn't 89. It was 99. um yeah, it was just a lot of, looking back, it was a lot of stupid, useless pictures. There was a lot of good stuff too. We took a lot of pictures of the audit, not the auditoriums, but the display area with the,
Yeah,
in the main hangar and all that stuff.
definitely. There was that thing where you could digitally get yourself inserted into a scene with like Darth Maul,
Uh-huh.
like posing next to him. And the color of my shirt, I think I was wearing a blue shirt, and so it looked like the desert was bleeding through my shirt because it blue screened sort of. So my head is kind of floating next to my shoulder while Darth Maul is like standing there.
Yeah, I
Kind
came
of
across
interesting.
I had a picture with Palpatine, Senator Palpatine, and the uh, I don't know. At this point now, it looks like I'm trying to give him a kiss. The way I'm looking, I'm trying to look like thoughtfully at him, like, oh yeah, I'm considering
Yeah,
like what
yeah.
he's saying or something. But
Right,
like, it just
right.
looks like I'm like waiting for a smooch or something. And
It brings whole new meaning to the rule of two.
the yeah, there's your dryad. Um, and but the color on the printout is like starting to yellow. It's weird.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think it's been getting cooked in the garage or something.
Right. Now,
Um,
also,
anyway,
when we were going
before we
around,
get into that
yeah,
stuff, we don't have it on hand, but, and this is regarding the the auditorium stuff, the interviews and the presentations on the stages, there was a change. There was an updated program, which I don't know where mine is. I just have the original program. But
Yeah, there's the
Brian,
glossy, nice one with Darth Maul that says Celebration, which was handed to everybody. But then very quickly, as we stood in line, a black and white reprint saying, what did it say? It was like new program. I don't know.
it was like
It had
updated guide or whatever.
updated guide. It was C3PO on the cover, black and white. And these were handed out wholesale to everybody
Yeah,
because,
it was just simple printout.
yeah, because Brian Blessed, bless his heart,
Died.
could
No,
they couldn't
he
make it.
couldn't make it. Yeah,
He was too busy at the Flash Gordon convention.
right.
That's what it was.
Yeah, he got the wings out and
Yeah, he flew over
grew the
to
beard
where
back
they were
out.
because it was nice and sunny and warm, probably. But yeah, Brian Blessed couldn't make it, and yeah, we didn't obviously didn't see him. There was a few people we missed that were on stage. We didn't see Hugh Corshi, Captain Panaka. I know that we didn't see him.
No big loss at
No,
this
yeah, no
point.
big loss. Yeah, get out of here, Panaka. You wanted too much money for episode 2, so we'll just
Captain
boot you out.
pessimistic.
uh, I didn't see David West Reynolds in Auditorium B. He was the guy who did the archaeological stuff
Right.
in Tunisia and scouted the old locations as well as new ones for episode 1. I would have loved to have seen that. I bet it was awesome. He also wrote the first cross sections book and the first Star Wars visual dictionary, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been cool. We saw Ahmed Best and talk about Jar Jar, and Ahmed Best is great. And speaking of that, we had the Jar Jar Jam.
Yeah,
I don't know what night was that.
before we get into that too, I just wanted to say, as far as my memory goes, I don't recall going and seeing anything on the small stage, Auditorium B, that was in the same tent as the like vendor displays or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you? Did you see anything on that stage?
Auditorium B where it says Scott Chernoff?
Yeah.
Or on Friday, the first day, I don't think so, but if you look at the other days, some of the same people were on Auditorium A or
Right.
vice versa.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think we might have even caught, like, because some of those are kind of close on time.
Right.
So we might have caught someone on another day, you know. But so like I said, I remember who I didn't see more
Yeah.
than anything.
Yeah. And
We
I know
did
we
see-
split up.
Yeah, we did split up. You saw Steve Sansweet at one point.
Yeah, I touched him.
Got your
too.
picture with him.
Yeah.
You touched him. That sounds wrong. I touched Ray Park at the Jar Jar Jam, which we'll get
That's
into later.
that's right. You touched his back or whatever.
I gave him a slap on the back as he got up on stage.
Yeah.
Like, go get him, buddy. We did see Pernilla August talking about her role as Shmi.
Right.
I remember that. And during all of this, they showed the tone poems, which were the TV spots for the Phantom Menace,
Yes.
which had unique little tone poems and dialogue and clips from the movie. And those also, because those are on the Phantom Menace DVD, when I see those really bring back memories from Celebration.
Yeah.
Especially the Anakin one, the Darth Maul one. They're just, I don't know, they're so evocative of that time period.
Yeah.
So,
see, I believe, or I think, at least for myself, I think it was mainly Auditorium A for me anyway.
yeah.
Over the first 2 days, maybe some stuff on the third day.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about my only memories of the auditoriums. I didn't check out the vendor area very much. And I don't think I saw anything on the small stage. With, Chernoff.
Another specific memory.
Oh.
Yeah. I was going to say, Jake Lloyd was very much, being about 10 years old at the time, he was very much a ham. And he loved getting the audience riled up and laughing about whatever, especially with Anthony. Remember all the banter with Jake and Anthony?
Yeah.
They even had like a lightsaber duel on stage, and he's stabbing Anthony, and Anthony's like laying on the ground.
Yeah.
And
his
then
whole
at one
family
point,
was there too.
his whole family was there. His little sister who played
Hmm.
Princess Ellie in the background. She came up and they stood on stage and everyone's like, "Oh," taking pictures. And and yeah, it was just Jake was very much into this whole Star Wars audience thing. And you wouldn't think, see, that's for me what's funny, the dichotomy about later all the negative reaction he got after the movie came out and online and everything. And it's just weird because to me it's just he's a little kid in a Star Wars movie and I'm seeing mostly positive things from it. And to me it just kind of, I don't know, maybe it was an early example of negative internet culture, but it's a shame how much hate he became a focal point for a lot of hate for the Phantom Menace.
Him
And I've
him
never,
and Ahmed Best.
him and Ahmed Best, and that's another person who's amazing and awesome and funny and charming, and I like Jar Jar and you like Jar Jar, and we recognize he's not for everybody, but at the same time these are focal points for people, and even people that are really intelligent and whose tastes I think are generally good. When they're casual Star Wars fans, you bring up the Phantom Menace. Oh yeah, the Jar Jar crap, and it's like,
Yeah.
dude, tune it out. I watch it. I don't focus on that. I just, to me, it's part of that movie, and I just kind of focus on the good stuff.
Yeah,
So
now we can focus all our hate on the sequels.
exactly, we have a new thing to hate. So let's not hate Anakin and Jake Lloyd and
Let's
Jar
try to
Jar.
get Ryan Johnson to go crazy.
Yeah, being a mental institution.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
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 so I mean that's funnily enough, that's all my memories of the auditoriums. Very little other than like what I'm like looking at a picture and I'm like, okay, that's that happened. I took a picture of it. I have no
yeah.
recollection of it really,
Right,
but
right.
more
Another one.
recollections of the hangar stuff.
Yeah,
That
the
had
other
more
one in the
interesting
hangar.
displays.
The other memory in the hangar was you froze the video game.
That's right. I have a picture of it. I was
You,
playing the Lucas Arts had a display area for, and you could demo games that were about to come out. Like they had, I think, Pod Racer and
yeah,
stuff that was already out and stuff.
it was imminently coming, like May 3rd at midnight,
Yeah,
more or less.
um, but the one I froze was the Phantom Menace game,
You
the
did,
PC version of it,
right.
and that was it. I just froze it. I was so proud of myself that I had you take a
We got
picture of
that
me.
on photo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I always when I think of that game, that's what sticks out because I didn't play that game very much. I think you did get it
I
that
did, and
summer.
I did, and I finished it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
played it through once, and that was it. I kind of want to play it again, just to see. I guess people speed run it, the PlayStation
I
version,
I
which
I've
I
always
find weird.
wanted I've always wanted to play that one more because I never really got past the Trade Federation ship. But we might have to consider that for a lore play commentary down the line. I do I do have it on PlayStation, which I can play on my PS2. I've sampled it, but again, it's just sitting and I'll get to it whenever.
Yeah.
But yeah, Phantom Menace. Racer was the better game in my opinion that summer, but
Yeah, that one
Racer
was
was
a
good.
little bit better.
Yeah.
So the the hangar. Let's see if I bring up my map. They had so LucasArts had their little area with the games and stuff. Um, and then there was a lot of other little like I wouldn't say vendor things, but there was a timeline, like a saga timeline display um, set up, and I have like a really poor picture of that. Um, Man, I thought I had a map, and I guess I don't.
That's
Oh,
right.
there it
They did
is.
have a hangar map, huh? With
Yeah,
like
there
kind
it
of
is.
saying each
It's on the
section.
stupid program. Yeah, it's funny too because they have all the outlines of the planes
Yeah,
that were in the
the
hangar.
big ones.
Um,
And there was the bomber outside. We get shelter from the rain under the wing.
yeah, I think it was it a B-52? I think it was a
Uh,
B-52.
it was like a Stratofortress. I don't remember the designation, but it was like one of
Mm.
those big ones.
Yeah. Anyway, so they had an X-wing and stuff. I think the X-wing's still there. I think that was always there, wasn't it? The
That
X-wing
sounds right.
display.
That sounds right. I almost seems like I even read something in Insider that they were going to have that there for future Wings Over the Rockies events and things.
Hmm.
But yeah,
So LucasArts had to set up Decipher, the card collectible
yep,
card game company. They had a
that's
setup
right.
there.
That's right.
Hasbro,
They were
Lego.
starting their new card game at that time for the Phantom Menace because they weren't
Right.
doing the trilogy anymore. They finished out Return of the Jedi cards maybe in early 99. They had Return of the
Hmm.
Jedi ones. I know 98, 97 was Hoth. Maybe by 98 they had Return of the Jedi, but I know we got sample packs of the new ones
Right.
and I still have those somewhere. So
Yeah.
they were kind of cool. I feel like I like the early ones more though because they would go into the laser disc and capture and clean up these images of like little obscure things, and I remember the new cards just kind of being generic promotional photos
Yeah.
on each card, and it was like, eh, because I
Yeah.
didn't care about the games. I was to me it was about the content and the picture and
And the
the lore.
lore. Yeah. There was a
Yeah,
lot of lore
yeah,
was disseminated through those cards, at least for me.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And they didn't really do that from Phantom Menace onward. And I don't know. So for me, I didn't bother. I don't know. It wasn't a big deal for me.
yeah, whatever. They lost the license not long
Right.
after anyway.
Yeah. Then it went to Wizards of the Coast, and then they had their whole thing.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I remember going around there. They had some like I don't know. It's funny to think like what a convention really is, right? You've got all these, and this is true of the other celebrations to a larger scale in any other convention I've been to, where um, you have these presentations with the actors and the people involved in whatever the convention is. In this case, Star Wars, and then you have like vendors, which is kind of cool to check out. But essentially, it's just kind of selling you shit. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is fine.
Look
I
what's
mean,
coming.
yeah. Um, which it's funny to think of like, why even go to a convention? You know what I mean? I
I
guess
know.
the presentations more than anything else to be like among the first to like learn something
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
something. Um,
Yeah, because there's a lot of conventions, especially just the LA science fiction convention, which I've been to. It's almost like a flea market in some
uh
regards,
huh. Yeah.
which that's the focus of it is the sellers. And then they might have two or three presentations by actors or directors. But
Hmm.
yeah, there's been conventions in the past where it was selling was the first and foremost thing. And then it
But I
was a
get,
bonus.
but
Yeah.
really, we wouldn't expect anything different. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even
Yeah.
saying like that's a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, one thing I did note is that in in the instance of Celebration One compared to two and three, which is the only other two I've been to, it was much to a much lesser extent that there was the as you say the flea market vibe because
Hmm.
that that vendor area of the convention was so small compared
Yeah.
to later there would be
Yeah. C2 and C3. Yeah.
huge halls devoted to that stuff, to the swap
Which
meet esque.
I bought things. There was Star Wars comics and stuff I bought at C2 and C3 because it was like, big
Yeah.
thing. I do remember also getting our glimpse of some of these episode one tie-in books for the first time, even before the midnight thing. Like we went to the display, I think it was for Scholastic, who I think was the company that put out the Jedi Apprentice books, and they had the first two because they were just days away from release, and you could pick them up and look at them, and it was, The Rising Force by Dave Wolverton, and then The Dark Rival by Jude Watson, which is the first one that she did among the rest of the series. And it was cool because we hadn't seen these yet, and I didn't even know they were coming in Insider or anything. So I remember reading the back and it was like, wow, we're gonna get a series about young Obi-Wan and meeting up with Qui-Gon and becoming his apprentice. And then like, whoa, who's this Xanatos guy? Qui-Gon's former apprentice. Like suddenly I realized that the expanded universe was now opening up to the prequels. In addition, we were handed a bookmark, which was an advertisement for the new Jedi Order. And
Yeah.
there wasn't any details other than it said something like the Star Wars expanded universe is going to change. It was like that was the big thing. Was like change is coming to Star Wars books, and it was going to be this big multi-author project.
Yeah.
and there was like a generic painting of like a planet, and that's all it was. We knew New Jedi Order. That was it. We
Yeah.
had to speculate. So little did we realize what that was going to entail over the next 6 months.
And you would never realize because you haven't read them yet.
I would realize from a surface impression and never got around to reading them, despite owning. At one point, I did sell and then repurchase some, but at one point I did have every New Jedi Order book, and I think I sold the whole set when I was going through a big Star Wars purge like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Sad.
another story for another day.
Yeah. So I guess that's just about it for the celebration.
That's about my memories too.
Yeah, the actual celebration itself, it's not. Oh, there was the big inflatable Pepsi cans.
With Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan on them.
Yeah, and they were like falling over half the
They
time
fell over
because of the rain and the weather. Yeah,
it got windy on like the third day or something, and one of those fell over, and it was like, whoa, like because those were big. You know what? Oh man, if only someone still had those. I would take one.
Hey, you know what? I've mentioned before. I mean, I think we both collected all those stupid episode 1 Pepsi cans, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I distinctly remember the day I threw all of those things out at my uncle's house. I was like, I don't need these, and I just threw them out.
Yeah. How dare you? You could have been drinking like 1999 soda, like on C3 trip.
Well, mine were empty, so
okay.
I didn't save them full. But if I had one of those big inflatable cans, I think I would have saved them. But interestingly enough about them, at least one of the cans, it seemed like it was already faded. Like it had been used a lot, but it was clearly an episode 1 inflatable can. There's a Mountain Dew, a Pepsi, and then
that's right,
another Pepsi. There's 2 Pepsis. One was like greenish. It looks like it's fading.
I only remember 2, but my memory is fuzzy on that also.
Well, I'm looking at pictures, so I have the benefit of visual guide.
Right.
But
let's talk about Boba Fett. He was walking around with his boombox.
The cosplayers.
The cosplayers there was a lot of good ones. Obviously, it was a little limited because of the rain and everything. I don't think everybody wanted to dress up in something uncomfortable, but we saw Boba Fett, who was like, he was all decked out like Boba Fett, but hip hop and almost like a break dancer because of the boombox with samples from the holiday special, and it was so good. It was like really good beats and everything.
Yeah, it was the Star Wars break beats.
Star Wars break
which
beats
are great. The Boba Fett one is the best, but all of the break beats are good.
I think you tracked those down like the next year on Napster.
Yeah, like, I have them all.
Yeah, we did get them. And then Dengar was really good also. That was guy. It was just he just pulled off. He has the right body size and everything, kind of heavy. And
he was a super good Dengar.
Yeah, I think we might have seen him maybe at C2. I'm trying to remember, but it's funny when you see Celebration 1 documentary footage or news footage or even photos throughout Insider or online. You'll see him. You'll see Dengar. You'll see Boba Fett. All the other guys. So
there was a
kind of like the face.
There was a Chewie.
Yeah.
I think that costume was fairly
pretty close
accurate. So I'm wondering if he was like a pro, you know?
Right.
And because he was on stilts or something, so he was taller than everybody else.
He's a pro basketball player.
But it's on the level of like Chewie at Star Wars or at Star Wars Land and at Disneyland now.
Right.
So
that I think that's it for me too, as far as the convention. That's everything that comes to mind.
Yeah. So another thing that was going on that weekend, I don't know how closely it was associated with the actual celebration, but it was the Jar Jar Jam.
I know it
Saturday
wasn't
night.
Saturday night. I don't
first.
Yeah, that sounds right because I know it wasn't the night of the midnight toy thing because that would have been crazy. But it was like Ahmed Best playing reggae rock kind of music on stage at a little like basement church kind of thing,
Yeah, it
like
was
in
a
downtown Denver.
temple event center in
Yeah, it was
on 1595 Pearl.
it was such a interesting place because it was kind of a quiet neighborhood, like a very old neighborhood with the homes and everything.
Yeah,
And we go there, go down the stairs. It's like a big stone. It looked like a church. And then you get down there and it's like this crazy reggae rock kind of thing. Everyone's in costume and Star Wars fans are going crazy and they had just everyone on the dance floor. And
Ray Park showed
me,
up.
yeah, Ray Park showed up and
You
Rick
touched him.
McCallum. Rick
That's right. That's
McCallum
right.
came on stage, introduced Ahmed and his band, and we got some pictures of that. And
Yeah,
yes, I slapped Ray Park as he went up on stage, slapped his back. I shouldn't say I slapped him, his back.
yeah. He would have beat your
And
ass.
yeah, no kidding. There was a lot of hot layers in metal bikinis. I
Yes,
remember that
that's
because we got
true.
some pictures, like some pervs that we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, well, what am I gonna do?
Absolutely.
They're out there. What am I gonna do? Not take a picture?
Don't worry,
Duh.
man. It was 99. Don't worry. It's a
Yeah,
different
no
time.
worries. Totally. Um, so yeah, that was a lot of fun. Um,
Yeah, that was neat. You know, the little extra stuff. That and then the next night, like you mentioned, was the on Sunday night was the midnight release of all the toys
the midnight
and
release
media stuff.
at the end, it was like day 3 of celebration was over, and then that was the big thing we got to look forward to. So we lined up at about 11 p.m. or so, maybe a little later, outside of a Toys R Us
Which was
there in
conveniently
Denver.
right across the street from Media Play.
Yes, that's true.
Because
And
Media Play opened up that night too, even though
yep,
they didn't have like the wide selection of toys that
yeah,
Toys R Us did. They still had some stuff, you know.
they had stuff. They had the Jedi Apprentice books. I
Right.
believe, I think I got them there
And you
at
know
Media
what?
Play.
You know what? That's how big everything was for the Phantom
Yeah,
Menace and Star Wars.
every store
That a
that
Toys
had
R Us
yes,
of all things would open at midnight. Not even like a midnight showing of a movie. I mean, obviously it had that.
yeah.
In fact, uh, you know, Phantom Menace had like a the first day it came out, it was like 24 hours. You
Yeah,
know,
it was. It was.
they had just shows all day, all night. But
I still remember standing in line very vividly at that Toys R Us, and it was all
hmm
dark, and we had our jackets on, and I remember as they opened and we crawled in through the line, they had a big inflatable full of the figures, like
uh-huh,
just willy-nilly as you
yeah,
went in, and it was like all picked over already. It was like C3POs
uh-huh,
and like
yeah,
Senator Palpatine. Like that was
yeah.
like all it was.
Hey, those are my two favorite characters.
I know, right? And then if you went to the regular aisle, it was still kind of the same. You might see an R2D2,
Yeah,
but like Darth Maul was the hot one. He was nowhere to be found.
right, of course.
Qui-Gon was pretty difficult. Obi-Wan was gone. Padme was I did get Padme the next day on her way out of town at a Kmart, actually, because I
Yeah.
have the receipt from that. But that's all I remember from Toys R Us. Picked clean. I think we just got in, saw the craziness of it, and then went over to Media Play, which was a little more low key. Got some Jedi Apprentice books, and then that was
And that's when I
checked them out.
tried and failed to buy those adventure journals because
Right,
there was a problem with the credit card,
with the credit card.
which would become an issue later, of course.
Right.
Um,
So the next day, we left town, stopped at Kmart, got my Padme, which also became a tradition. I got a Padme figure on every road trip for each movie.
right.
That was the other thing.
And we decided to take a different route home. Um, went a southern route through
Yeah,
the ass end of Colorado.
yeah. I
And
recall. I have a memory of us trying to do Palpatine's voice from the trailer as we were driving, but then changing it to disgusting things like, jerk them off, all of them, like things like that.
right, yeah, of course.
Um, but yeah, it was all about trying to recreate the wipe them out, all of them, and you had it down pat.
Yeah.
It was great trying to recreate that, and then we hit a big rainstorm. I remember that evening, and we got in late to Albuquerque. Big rainstorm. We were driving through the rain on the interstate, and I had a calling card that my mom had given me because she wanted me to call her every night,
Mm-hmm.
checking into the motel, which I had been doing pretty much. And I think we got into Motel 6 like at 11 or 12. Like, I don't know how late it was. It was fairly late because I know it was late enough to where when I called my dad, he was like, "You need to call mom back ASAP because she called me crying and freaking out, thinking you died in a rainstorm."
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh,
Well,
okay.
part of the issue with getting in so late was the money issue, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I had been operating off of cash
yeah,
the whole time for it was only gas that I was using the credit card for.
right.
Um, and I'd been using cash for everything else for the motels and stuff, but for some reason I had misplaced $100 bill.
Oh, that's right.
Um, and so when we got to Albuquerque, and I had noticed I had misplaced. I had noticed it was gone. I should say, um, before we left Denver, because I'd been looking
Yeah,
for it. And
yeah.
by the time we left Denver, I was convinced that I had accidentally paid the parking at the Jar Jar Jam. I was convinced I had paid the guy accidentally $102 instead of $3. Like
Right,
I was like, I
right.
must have given that guy like a two ones and 100.
That was the theory
That
for
was
a
my
long
theory
time.
for about 3 months until I actually did find the $100 bill in a Obi-Wan Kenobi Pepsi cup that I had gotten from the celebration. But
You had slipped it behind like stickers and like
yes,
other stuff, so where it
yeah,
wasn't visible when you'd like
I
glance
was throwing
in.
all sorts of stuff in there, and then I was like, I will put the $100 in there for safekeeping because I don't want to keep it in my wallet the whole time.
Yeah,
And then I just forgot.
yeah,
I just forgot I put it in there, and
yeah.
I don't even know. So when we got to Albuquerque, we were on fumes as far as money was concerned. I
We
mean,
were. I had.
we were
Yeah,
considering sleeping in the car. You know, we were scouting out street locations, and then we were finally like, you know what, let's get a hotel room, and
and then we'll eat Wiener Schnitzel the next
we'll eat
day.
Wiener Schnitzel the next day because it was like super cheap.
$5.
And yeah, it was a whole thing the next day.
It
Because I think
it
your
was a whole
mom,
thing.
but that night your mom had called my grandmother. I think
Oh,
all worried
dude, it
too.
was awful. It was like late at night because I think she even woke my dad up like when he was getting ready for bed or something.
Right,
Like
right.
it was awful, and it was just so overreactionary, and it was just like, oh, dude. So anyway, that was all settled, and I remember the drive west towards Flagstaff was pleasant and nice,
Oh
and
well,
despite our
we
yeah,
should say that that day, the next day, I had to have my grandmother like wire me money
that's
because of that
right,
stupid
like a
$100.
right, right, yep,
But we got all that squared
uh,
away
yeah.
after Western Unioning money over.
Right. And then we when we got to Flagstaff and which is where we was stayed that night, I believe. And
Yes.
we checked out I don't know if it was the next morning. I think it probably was because it was in the evening otherwise. But
Yeah, we got in
we
late because that's when we went to the McDonald's and that's what you mentioned before that we
oh
were in the
yes, the
drive-through McDonald's and the guy had ordered like
30
30 Big Macs or something.
which the person at the window told us about because we were like,
Yeah.
why did that guy take so long? They're like
Yeah.
handing bags and bags to him.
Yeah. Well, no,
Um,
they had him like pull over to the side
right,
eventually.
right.
And then they brought out like huge bags of Big Macs to him or whatever.
It pissed me off so bad. But while we were in Flagstaff, we checked out Bookman's, which is an awesome used bookstore and coffee shop kind of thing. And then there was Hastings Entertainment, which is where we loaded up on some things. And I guess, according to my records, I still had, I don't know if you loaned me money at this point, or this is what I got then, because according to pictures, there was a World of Indiana Jones role playing box set I
Hmm.
got. I did get two adventure journals there.
Wait, did you get
I
that there or did you get that at Media Play?
I might have gotten it at Media Play.
I think you got the Indiana Jones RPG stuff at Media
That would
Play.
be more likely, but and I might have even gotten these two adventure journals in my notes. I might have gotten them at Media Play. I'm not sure, but I got adventure journal number 5 and number 15 somewhere on the trip, and I thought it was Hastings, but maybe
Yeah.
not if I was broke. But then there was the Crimson Empire 2 CD audio drama. I think I got at Hastings.
Hmm.
Again, that could have been Media Play. Um, So that was very cool. We swung into Hastings and Bookman's on the other trips because it was a cool place, both of them.
Yeah, they're
And
awesome.
there were Flagstaff was really cool. And I think it was a later trip where we saw the observatory there, the Lowell Observatory.
Yeah,
I
I think
think
it
that was
was.
C2.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, but yeah, so we and then we headed south to Phoenix. We swung into a mall there, looked around, more episode one stuff, if I recall.
And that was the
Um,
mall where they shot uh, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
that's right. That's right. You told me about that later.
Yeah,
Um, and then on the drive back through San Diego, we were listening to Art Bell, talking about spelunking, and I just always remember that because we were tuning into the radio off and on through the whole trip because
yeah,
I only brought a handful of cassettes and we didn't have plentiful. We had no MP3s on this trip,
yeah,
maybe a CDR of something, but otherwise it was pretty sparse. And then we got in, and it was like you said, it's those travel memories that seem to be more crystalline versus the rest.
yeah.
So
Oh, I think it. Yeah, I think it leaves more of an impression. You know, it's that cliche about the journey being
yeah,
more important than the destination, and I think
absolutely.
that's true. That's one of the reasons why we had both decided that instead of backtracking the same way, we just kind of pushed forward with a new route home to
Yeah,
make everything fresh. Part of that also was just, it means that it keeps going. It's not like the reminder of like it's
yeah.
over. It's like,
It's
oh, see this
over.
again. We got to
I
backtrack to
know.
get home. But
I
um,
know.
but no, it was cool, and obviously it was cool enough to where we decided to go to the next two celebrations.
And
Um,
do the same kind of thing.
do
Drive
the
out with
same
the
same thing.
white
Try to do the
Millennium
same
Falcon.
routes, to an extent, and revisit all the Barnes and Nobles and media
Yeah.
plays that we've done. Anyway, and on that note,
Yeah, on that note, no, we hope everyone enjoyed our celebration memories because not a lot of people talk about the 1999 Denver celebration,
there is very few
and
pictures
there's
and
very few pictures. Oh, and by the way,
media.
you you did get that leather-bound $75 episode one novelization there.
We don't need to talk about that.
Well, that was a thing, and then there was a
Yeah, I know.
hat. We each got a hat. I got a T-shirt. You got a T-shirt. You lost yours.
Yes, I got
You've
to
had to.
repurchase it. I got to
You're in the
find it.
process of repurchasing.
Yes.
I am jealous about your Darth Maul slipcase episode one book though, because that is badass. I got the standard, you know, I think it was the Anakin cut, or no, I got the Darth Maul um, dust
Right.
jacket one. Anyway,
All right, enough rambling. This is like insane ramblings of two,
that's what it
aging
is.
Star Wars freaks.
That's what the entertainment value is. On that note, remember to everyone to check out our channel on YouTube, Star Wars Unfiltered. Also check out our Facebook page. You can reach out with any questions or comments at starwarsunfiltered@yahoo.com. And we are also on Instagram. And we just finished up the Battlefront 2 lore play commentaries. That went up a couple days ago. We're going to have a couple more podcasts here in the next week or two. And Obi-Wan Kenobi is right around the corner. So with that, hope everyone has a great week and may the force be with you.
Good night.